Welcome back to the VIBE EDU podcast. My name is Joshua Stamper. I have Kim Gamrose, TJ Very, and Mitch Weathers, my twinsy, today as we're here at the VIBE EDU event. And I'm so excited to see everyone. Can we real quick, so everyone gets the vibe of the event, will you just give a cheer for Kim Gamrose and the wonderful job she did last night? That's good. I wanted you to. This is a safe space. So I appreciate everyone being here today. It was so good last night to see you all. But also what Kim said last night was perfect in the sense that it is a safe space. You felt vulnerable. You brought your heart and you shared that with this community, which is amazing for us to see because we do sometimes feel like we're on the outskirts of the community. And when sometimes we'll pop in, pop out, we get messages, we see what's going on Facebook and all these other different facets, but to see it in person is quite magical, and we just feel honored, Kim, to be a part of this VIBE EDU event.
Oh, I love you guys. Thank you. Thank you.
So I just wanted to throw that out real quick before we do a in-person mailbag. So for those who are listening online or watching on YouTube or Spotify, obviously this is a little bit different format than we typically have. So this is really, really fun. So thank you all for being here, you VIPs. You special folks. And so we're going to do it where in the past we've done a mailbag where we get comments in YouTube via email, box or whatnot, and we post those and we talk through it. But since you're here, we'd love for you to be a part of this episode. So if anyone has any questions for us, we're just going to kick it off that way.
Or takeaways from last night.
Or takeaways. Do we want to talk about last night?
Yeah. Oh, Kim.
My strategy is writing it down.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay, so in first grade, how do you distinguish whether it's a motivation versus working memory piece?
Ooh.
Wow.
Mitchell?
Ooh, I know.
Meaning, is the child unmotivated,
Yeah,
or is the working memory bandwidth?
yeah.
Yeah.
What grade again?
First.
First grade.
Why is everybody looking at me?
Because it's your wheelhouse.
Because we know your strengths, buddy.
Okay, so here's where I would go with that in my.
Because you mentioned that yesterday.
Yeah, and let me just do a quick overview just in case. Working memory is part of our. I refer to as the engine of learning. We have our short-term memory, and this is like a real quick overview. There's more to this, but as you know, short-term memory is a short-term passive place where you park stuff, and if you don't use it within a certain amount of time, poof, it's gone, right? Long-term memory is the ultimate destination of everything we're teaching and learning, and we hope things make it there, and it's infinite, and we can learn and learn and learn. And then there's something referred to as working memory. There's different components of it, but we'll just consider it all one right now. And it's sometimes synonymous with short-term memory, although it's not passive. It's an active place in our brains. It's what you're using right now. If you're thinking, you're listening. Some refer to it as our mind's spotlight, so the thing I'm trying to focus on. What's important to know, and there's a researcher named John Sweller, if you want to research that name, who came up with something referred to as a cognitive load theory. And some would argue it's the most important thing a teacher can know about. Because when we look at working memory, different from long-term memory is it has a bandwidth, it has a capacity, it's finite. And what we know is what we are born with is what we have. And I was talking to someone last night. This is why, because it has just my mental spotlight, multitasking is actually not a thing. So if you think you're a good multitasker, you're not. You're dividing yourself in play. Our brains aren't, that's not our card, we're not wired that way cognitively. But when we look at teaching and learning, and that's a really good question, is the kid unmotivated? Is the behavior that Josh's book, Language of Behavior, these manifestations we see, and it might be lack of motivation, and it might be that, but the interesting part of the work is just getting really curious about the environment and saying, is there anything that's within my sphere of influence that might unnecessarily be contributing to the cognitive load? So it's taking up some of that bandwidth that I need to stay focused, that I need to regulate myself, self-regulation, stay on task, inhibit if I am in first grade and that kid next to me is really driving me nuts and I just want to punch him, right? Am I going to inhibit? All of that is taking some of that working memory capacity. So there's not a a definitive, it's this or this. But with us, it's as teachers, it's really looking at our spaces and saying, maybe let's consider my routines. Are they clear? Are they predictable? Are they consistent? Or is there ambiguity there? Because if there's ambiguity there, then students are having to navigate the learning environment, and that's taking some working memory. Is my content volume, is it too, like for me, I spent most of my time, if you've tuned in or read my stuff, I was a 9th grade science teacher for most of my career. And it's not unrealistic to give multi-step directions for, say, 5 minutes to a group of 15-year-olds and then expect them to be able to go do something for 5 or 10 minutes. In 1st grade, I don't think that's going to work, right? Everyone's shaking their head. So is my content volume too much? That's what I mean by leading with curiosity. Just like, okay, let me consider this. And you also know when we talk about working memory, cognitive load, and then student motivation, this work's all got to be tier 1. It's got to be we're considering this for all kids. Because if it is something that's persistent, in light of a universal MTSS tier 1 strategy or intervention, that's a good thing then. Then we get curious about maybe there is something going on here. And that would be what we would say is a tier 2 consideration, maybe even tier 3. But in the absence of that collective consideration of the environment, we might unknowingly be contributing to cognitive load. And we're seeing behaviors, and it's not a blame game, it's just when we equip ourselves with the knowledge of our cognitive architecture, we can get curious about those things and try to help students.
Jeez, that's a guy who got 9 hours of sleep last night.
I did.
That's so good, wasn't it?
I got 9 hours. Does that help though? Does that make sense? Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And first of all, and then I'll be quiet.
No, please.
That's not a 1st grade thing. That's all of us. That's 9th grade. That's college. It's how our brains work.
And a couple of I would say too, as a unmotivated learner, what was a problem, and we've talked about it a lot on the show for me, was just the amount of noise in the space. And so one thing I did in secondary schools when I was assistant superintendent was to measure teacher talk, group talk, individual talk, and silence. And it's startling, the lack of silence in the classrooms. And we have to consider the noise of the people and the noise of the room. Mm-hmm. And so I'm a person who has to read everything that's in front of me. Like, I know your shirt says teach, and I know Bison on here, and man, that brag tag table. Yeah, last night I had to read everything. He was twitching last night. It's just part of the architecture of my brain. And so and I know if you've heard me say it on the show, but I'll say it again in the space, is that in every classroom I was ever in, I had to read everything on all the walls before I could pay attention to anything else.
Hold on. Stop and say that again.
In every classroom I was ever in, I had to read everything on all the walls before I could pay attention to anything. So if you had a lot of stuff and it took me 45 minutes to get through it all, and it was a 60-minute class, you got 15 minutes from me. I almost got kicked out of high school too, so it exacerbated itself as I got older. But that noise is cognitive load for students. And so we just need to be cognizant of that and maybe curious about a student's motivation versus what they're going through just to regulate themselves to be able to listen to the directions, regardless of whether the directions are actually clear. Because the directions could have been unclear, plus they're dealing with the cognitive load of the room and the other students. And by the way, all of us need silence to concentrate. And so kids at every level. I also want to say this. One more thing, right?
In my
This is his last.
Write that down. You just said just one more one.
I'll say it again. I'll say it again.
We'll let you.
I also think motivation, more and more in schools, especially for younger students, is based on the connection they can make and the relevance of the work that they're doing. In math, science, social studies, and ELA, this is huge. In electives, kids can draw the conclusion. In CTE, later in middle and high school, they can draw those conclusions. And I do college and career readiness work, and in all across the country. We're in 70 countries. And I really want the K to 5 conversation to start about career-connected learning and doing a better job with telling first graders, like, these are the professions that would use this. And you could invite your parents in, the parents who have different jobs. In middle and high school, it's hard to invite parents in because kids get embarrassed. But in elementary school, kids are typically proud of their parents and their parents' work. So I would say, anything career connected, industry-based language, connecting the content to something that somebody might do for work outside of school, that is really cool and really important stuff in K to 5. So kids don't keep asking the question, when am I ever going to use this? Why are we learning this? And the answer sometimes is because it's in the standards. And that's just not good enough.
TJ, do your kids know what you do?
Do my own kids know what I do? I don't think so. Well, they know
I asked that because mine do not.
Yeah, mine don't. Mine don't know what I do now, but be sure that when they were in middle and high school and I was assistant superintendent and I was the boss of their principals, they knew exactly what I did.
Dad's important.
Can I say one more?
Oh, God.
Oh,
Here we
one
go.
more. I didn't say I wasn't
When's it going to be
gonna
my
say
turn? We always take turns.
I know, but hold on.
Okay.
Most like in the younger years, working what's called core executive functions, which, this sounds like a shameless plug, but that blue book that I wrote, it's the new one. We really unpack this for the primary years, and I would say it's pre-K through, it says K3. I think it's pre-K through higher ed. Everyone should read that book. But really, especially in the early years, these core executive functions, working memory, inhibition, and cognitive flexibility, they're just starting to emerge. It's the biology of our prefrontal cortex, right? You can't speed it up. You can't make working memory bigger. You're born with what you have. So it's really about protecting that. And cognitive load gets a bad rap. There's something called the intrinsic load, which is the stuff we all do. It's the stuff of teaching and learning and making connections, right? It's the extraneous cognitive load. In that blue book, we talk about the environment, and to TJ's point, the visual, the acoustic, and the physical environment. Is that somehow getting in the way? Like cognitive load, our instruction, which is what you just referenced, and then our routines. So in particular with the younger years, because it's just coming on board, it's that much more important. So and we have to be, there's data on this about how often, think about it for a moment, how often do kids experience silence in a school day? Right? The whole adage, like a noisy classroom is a productive classroom, and I always like to say it might be, and it might not be. Mm-hmm. And I tell stories in that blue book of young classroom visits, and you could see who it's not working for. And sometimes we want school, not something, it needs to be, it's effortful. It should be hard. And rigor is not just content volume. That's not true. Rigor is like, I need you to really focus. And if you think about, if you were asked to do something really effortful, would you want it to be super noisy? And no. Okay. Right? So again, that's all the curiosity. Your turn, Kim.
Thank you. I feel like when I'm talking to them, I'm like, yes, 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 yes. And then teacher brain in me goes, so what does that really look like in a classroom? Right? Is that how you're thinking? Okay, see, this is why I exist in the group of 4. You, in your classroom, you have certain systems that you use all the time, right? And they are clear and they are routine. Things like the working clock. Raise your hand if you know you're the working clock and you use it in your classroom. Great. Things like get ready, do done. Okay. Those 2 things literally changed my classroom like that. Why? Because it's everything they're talking about. And so when you're talking about MTSS, when you're talking about Tier 1, when you're talking about social emotional learning, and I'm throwing in executive functioning in there too, those are the systems that run your classroom. And if they are absent, you can't figure out if it is a motivation thing or it's a you thing, right? So I really want us later in the day, during these coaching sessions, we will be talking about that kind of stuff because you need to know what to do. You need to know what that looks like. But if that's not part of your routine and you're not consistent with it, you're going to have behavior issues. Mm-hmm. You will. Every single time. And even with those things running your classroom, you're still gonna have behavior issues. Like that's just how it is. Who said something?
It was just a look.
It was just a look. But without them, it's gonna be full on chaos. And you're gonna feel it, and you're gonna feel burnt out, and we don't want that for you. So yes, you need to understand all of this stuff, and then you need to go, okay, but then really what does that look like in my classroom? So even if we just take a get ready, do done, right? For those of you who doesn't even know what that term is, you never even heard it before, some of you, that's fine, great, perfect. To get done with whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's a worksheet or a project or I don't know, anything. To get done, you start there. Where does it go? Does it go into a turn-in bin? Do I press submit at the end? Do I hang it up on this shelf? Does it go in my cubby? Like, what do I do to get the job done? That's clarity right there, right? To get done, it looks like this. And guess what? When you tell a kid right there, to get this job done, it's gonna go away. What do they feel? They feel a sense of or relief. Thank God it's over, right? Thank God I got that done. So accomplished, yes, and relief, it's over. And you start there because guess what? In their brains, they're already thinking, it's over. I feel accomplished. I'm relieved. It's done, right? You're starting there, you guys. Again, when we're talking about MTSS tier 1, it's you here. Okay, then to be done. What does it look like to be done? What does this page look like? What are all these little things that you're like, remember, you have to do this. Remember on the math page, it's a written response here. Remember, I want you to box your answer. Remember, this part over here looks totally different. I want you to draw and I want you to label things. And when you label it, it has to look this way. Draw that out. What does it look like to be done with whatever it is? Maybe it's a craft. What does it look like? Put up, how many of you guys have like actually examples of things that you can use? Perfect, that's your done. To be done, it looks like this. The next part is the do. So all of the steps. And you guys, I know you talk about all of the steps all the time and you say, I already told you. And the kids are like, running around the classroom, right? Or they're like looking at the lint or washing their hands for the 20th time, right? Or they're rolling on the ground and you're like, hello, what's going on? Like, I don't know. If you have specific, like to do, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, color code, all of that. And yes, in tandem with, like we said, the working clock, your life changes. Hey, babe, where are you? I don't know. Well, we're in the green over here on the clock. Can you match it to the green in the do? Oh, okay, I'm supposed to do this right now. Yep, off you go. I'd rather talk to kids like that, right? Instead of putting out fires and getting angry all day long. Then after that, it's the materials that they need. What are all the things that they need? Right? And if they don't have something out, what do? You point to that visual. Now you have supports in place. Now you have routine and clarity and all of that, but that's here. And if that's absent, it's gonna be a whole world of hurt. Every single day, all day long. How many hours are you teaching? How many hours are you teaching?
6.
I don't even know.
6.
20?
A long time.
It feels like 20. You guys, for 6 or 20 hours, you want it to feel calm. But part of that is systems and routines and the clarity in them, right? And then we can get to, okay, what's really going on with this kid? And how can I support them? But it starts here. It's here. Your turn.
I'm going to say one thing.
Oh, here we go.
No, but what that's referred to, and you see it in primary classrooms far more, is something that's recency bias. And so that chunking, We're doing this thing and this thing alone. Because have you seen this where you give a young person, well, you all have, like a list of things. Mm-hmm. This, and this, they're going to remember the last one. Whatever was most recent, right? You can even see it in like learning my sounds and letters where they're like, p, and they get to D. Maybe the word's pad. I'm just making this up. Duh. And something else comes out and you're like, where do you, and it's their working memory is trying so hard to hold, that's a P and it makes this sound, and that's this. It makes all of that is being held in this active part of my brain, just like we're going to do all these things. Okay, I got to hold all of that, and most of us can do that. TJ and I, we're not so good at that, but and then I'm going to, as a little kid in particular, I'm going to remember that last thing, and you're like, yo, we're on great. So if you chunk it, that's what I hear you saying.
Yep.
Yeah.
That recency bias is real. Josh?
Josh?
No, I was just thinking I would have loved to have Kim as my elementary teacher.
That's true.
Because I was the unmotivated kid, but I also was just, to TJ's point, I didn't really see like the relevance of any of it. And then I would get distracted and bored, and I'd start drawing in my notebook, and I'd go into La La Land, and then the teacher would come around, and everyone else was much further along in whatever the assignment was, and I didn't know where I was supposed to be because I wasn't really paying attention to the directions in the first place. So I just had this kind of loop in all my classes from K through 12. It's actually pretty amazing. I'm sitting up here with you all because I was very unsuccessful as a student. But I love the fact that, Kim, what you're talking through is just the fact that you have the step-by-step process for them instead of word vomiting everything out of this is what is expected of you, these are the steps, and this is the end product. And also for me, like, now I'm much better as an adult, but as a kid, like, I didn't have the attention span to just listen all the time. And that was the only form of communication to input into my brain. I'm extremely visual, good God, I can't talk, visual. And so if I didn't have, like what she was talking about, a model of what it's supposed to look like, regardless of what it was in the subject, then a lot of times I couldn't even function in the sense of understanding what it was that the end task was. And so for your unmotivated folks, it might be something where it's just the step that they don't even know where they're supposed to be. Or they don't even know where to start. I know you've talked about this before too, right? And going around and checking in as far as their understanding of what is it that they're actually supposed to do in this moment. I would have loved that as a kid.
I mean, we heard it last night from Lou. I mean, she called herself a dream student, I think. And I think that's true. But she also struggled in the classes where the directions weren't clear.
Yeah.
And I think that the directions should be like so uber clear that you can refer back to them in the visual. They're step by step. The number of classrooms I've been in, K to 12, where the teacher gives 6 or 7 step directions that aren't written down, and then wonders why the kids, you know what kids' number one thing they turn to each other and say, what are we supposed to be doing?
That was my question.
Because I'm in the room, I'm always in the room in the back with the kids. And the teacher gives the directions, and they turn every grade level. What are we supposed to do? And then the
Mitch
kids
still does that. What are you talking about?
Every time we start the podcast.
He's like, what are we doing?
TJ and I,
And then the kids, and I'm in a 3-piece suit or whatever, like when I was assistant super, and they would look at me and they would be like, did you get that? And I'm like, hell no, I didn't get that.
I'm still reading the whole
Oh,
room.
yeah, I'm on the poster. Save your drama for your llama. I'm wondering who has a llama that they're saving drama for. I only ever had one kid who owned a llama.
Napoleon Dynamite.
all that to say, that's a really good question.
That's a really good question.
What was the question?
Every time we get through one
Working
question.
memory, cognitive, or
That's good.
motivation.
You were paying attention.
Yeah,
Thanks, bud.
good.
All right.
Another one.
If we go at this pace, we're going to be here forever.
No,
All right.
let's do another
I
one.
want to be here forever.
You want to be here forever?
That'd be great.
Aww.
Look at TJ.
I was just talking about like my takeaway from yesterday that I thought we talked about it more is like the culture of try. And talking about that more so in our breakout session.
So this is kind of like a pet peeve of mine, and originally it came from Simon Sinek, where he talked about the CEO of an organization being clear about the why. He used Apple as the example and Steve Jobs in his original speech on that, and you can go back and get the TED Talk. It's excellent. And I think this happens with a lot of work. Brene Brown's work, even PLCs in schools. We can get into that too, where people are confused about it. They've heard it so often, knowing the why. It turned into know your why, and then all of a sudden we're asking everybody what their why is. And as a person who's run organizations, like, your why is important, but the organizational why is the key to success here. we can all have our own why, and that's great. But the reason that we're here, back to Sinek's original theory, was when we know the why of the organization, that's central to us all working together. Mitch can talk about collective efficacy and the power of that as a high effect size in schools for learning and culture. That got kind of bastardized into this, like I said, knowing your why. And so we're constantly hearing these conversations and even professional development about what's your why, what's your why? And then people kind of centralize that to themselves and like, this is what I think I bring, this is what's important to me. Then when we have an initiative, an external force, whether that comes from the state, our school, our principal, whatever it is, if it doesn't seem to jive with our why, we tend to reject it. That's not healthy in organizations. In strong organizations, we're all working towards the same means. And so I've said on the podcast and elsewhere that I'd like to move from a culture of why to a culture of try. The reason is because as educators, we're really good at reflecting on something that we didn't do. You've seen this before, where somebody comes in and says, we're all going to do a certain strategy, we're going to do these social emotional learning strategies, and somebody in the room invariably says, we tried that already. Or somebody says, I was thinking about that last night, I don't think it's going to work.
Have you heard that before? Raise your hand if you heard that before. Okay, great. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so my response to that is, I don't want you to reflect on it at all. I want you to try it. Once you're done trying it, then you can tell me how it went. And so it's a culture of why to a culture of try, and just give it a shot. You know, the world is moving so much faster than the education and education community and K-12. We're subject to becoming obsolete if we aren't already now. And so we've got to move the conversation forward, and it's just try it. Let's fail. And just one story about that, I think I've said it on the show before, but I'm a big fan of the jigsaw. It's one of the strategies with the highest effect size for learning. And there's so many reasons why. Kids have expert groups, they have home groups, they get to communicate with one another, they get to learn something on their own, they get to become an expert, they get to tell their peers about something, they get to learn from their peers. When done well, it's just such a great strategy. And it can be done at any grade level, including higher education. And so I was in these, we did this professional development for the jigsaw. And I always tell my school leaders, you have to go see your teachers do the strategy from the PL within 2 weeks of them. Every teacher, you have to see them do it within 2 weeks, because we know that if we teach teachers a new strategy and they don't use it in 2 weeks, they'll never do it. It's the truth about our own professional learning. So I want all the teachers to try it, and I want you to go see them do it. So these principals, I was in this school. These guys have heard this story. You may have too. But I was in this school with these principals, and they were taking, I was assistant superintendent, we did instructional rounds, and we went, these assistant principals, and we went into this classroom, and this teacher did a jigsaw, and it was horrible. Horrible. And I could see their faces like, oh my God, we've got this assistant superintendent here, and she's doing a terrible jigsaw. And they all know it. We get out in the hallway and we start to debrief, and they're looking at me like I'm gonna like maybe get mad or something. Maybe it was something I had said before. And I was so excited. And I said, that was awesome. And they were like, but it was terrible. and I said, but that teacher has never done a jigsaw before. She talks through the whole period, every time I've ever seen it before. And so I said, we can fix the jigsaw, but we can't fix people who aren't willing to try. And so
I have a question for you. Before I ask the question, we should probably define effect size just to be clear. If you're not familiar with the term, it's effect size, just jot down visible learning.
Meta X.
Meta X, but that sounds like Facebook. So just go to visible
Write
learning.
that down.
And
Write that
visible
down.
learning effect size.
Visible learning.
MetaX.
Visible learning.
John Hattie.
Google MetaX.
Hattie, John Hattie. And what John and his team have done is they're looking at meta-analyses, which is research on a strategy over decades. So not necessarily their research, but sometimes taking hundreds or even thousands of studies on one topic or strategy, trying to answer one question: what has the greatest impact on student success, more or less? And he's come up with this scale of an effect size, and if it's a 0.4 or above, it's average, one consistent year's growth you would expect over the course of one school year. And a lot of these strategies that TJ just mentioned have, for example, I think Jigsaw is at a 0.8 or above, which would be, one way of thinking of that is 2 years growth in one school year. So there's real bang for your buck. They're very context specific, but most of them are applicable across the board. He mentioned collective teacher efficacy, always sits at the top at like 1.5, so like 3-4 years growth in 1 year. So there's some really interesting work. I just want to make sure we're rattling off effect size, and Jigsaw is consistently up there as well, but I just wanted you to know what that was.
Yeah, and you don't really need to know that much about statistics to understand effect size. The bigger, the better. Right?
Yeah, just look on the list and be like, okay. But if it's, and again, context specific, but one-to-one devices, guess what its effect size is? It's like 0.1.
Yeah, and guess what homework is? It's like 0.23.
It's interesting. We have a question in the back there.
Thumbs down.
Real quick though, 95.
We have a question in
I
the
know.
back.
I just want to say this about effect sizes. 95% of what teachers choose to do will work.
Yeah.
It works on average between 0.2 and 0.4. Your job after this is to figure out the strategies that work at above a 0.4, so that every learner in every one of your classrooms gets at least a year's worth of learning. We should have had that.
Do you want to know the negatives? The lowest is ADHD. Second is ISS OSS. Third is summer vacation.
Yeah, for learning loss.
Yeah.
We could talk about effect. We should do a show on it.
We have a question in the back.
Write that
Oh,
down.
sorry.
There's a
Yes.
question.
I'm going to go down a
Colleen.
rabbit hole otherwise.
Knowing the importance of collective efficacy and how that affects student learning, I need to know how to do that, to change stuff, and frankly, moving towards changing student culture at the school. Like, how do I apply that to bigger than a classroom?
Yeah, because it has to be bigger than a
It
classroom.
has to be bigger than the classroom, and the shift now with kids is that their own belief in schools and their own way of seeing the school doesn't always reflect the school community. They throw it off, not.
No.
We could go down. We could talk about that. I don't know if we should put a pin in it. I think it's worth exploring too. To your question, that culture of try. But what if I'm a teacher at a school, and maybe these are kind of synonymous.
Because I know that school,
But
and I know those teachers.
What do I do if I want to have a collective culture of try? That can be we can get collective around that, because it's both grade level and subject area agnostic. Because first grade is so much radically different than third grade. Ninth grade is different than sixth grade. So if you're going to get collective, the strategies, because what the research says is that schools cannot expect change. This is not even a paraphrase. This is from a research paper, unless the initiatives are implemented by the majority of teachers.
Yeah.
That means collective efficacy. And if I wrote that paper, the next sentence would have said, and therefore, initiatives have to be implementable by the majority of teachers. How many of us have sat through a professional learning experience, and even if it's interesting, even if it's inspiring, if it's not relevant to my first grade classroom, what am I going to do with it? It's not implementable by me. So I think I'm curious about TJ and Josh are the two that have been school leaders. What do I do to shift the culture from my classroom? It's possible, but I think school leadership has to be wrapped up in that. So,
I mean, my first response is that efficacy is about doing things well. Collective is that we all do them well. but you can't have either if we don't know that we all do them well. So the number one strategy, the school's a big box with little boxes inside and they all have doors. I just talked to a superintendent who said one of the most expensive projects he has going on is an $800,000 knob and lock replacement. Why? Because that's how many doors we have in our rooms. And after all of this chaos that we have, we're locking them and closing them and the security police are coming through and making sure that's the case. All of that needs to happen, right, to keep our kiddos safe. But you've got to have strategies for us to get in and out of one another's rooms and see each other work. If we want to have collective efficacy, we all think that we're all doing good and we're all trying the new strategy. We have to see each other do the stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I would force that if I was a school leader, frankly. I would force that. I wouldn't leave that to chance. And I wouldn't make that a construct that that is optional. I would make sure that my teachers were seeing. And if you're a teacher and you're like, well, how do I do that? It always starts with you. Go see your peer and have them come see you and figure out how to hang something on the door when you're doing something new and you want somebody to come in and give you feedback. Feedback is like the critical piece of this. Seeing each other work and giving feedback to one another about what we learned when we saw each other and what we're gonna do differently, or if you're the school leader giving feedback to the teachers, like I could talk about that up here for the rest of the show.
He's written books on that.
Yeah, like that number one strategy is we need to knock down the walls and see each other do the work. We have to do that. And number two, one of the highest effect sizes is actually teacher credibility. And where we get teacher credibility is from one another. You can't give each other credibility unless you see each other do the work. That's the first part.
This isn't about perfection or any of that.
It's saying, you're going to have Miss Gamaros next year. She's the best. Well, you don't know if she's the best unless you've seen her do the work. Yeah. And so we give each other credibility in the school. So praise is the number two. So if I was going to break this down for any school, it would be seeing each other do the work and praising your peers out loud in front of them. Talk about each other behind your backs. No bitches.
No bitches.
But in a kind way. Talk about your peers behind their backs. Tell a kid, Miss Gamrose, you have her next period. She's so good. Mm-hmm. That's what elevates the credibility. Specific praise in your schools and telling people what they're doing well. Why? Because most people in schools, best people in schools, don't know what they're doing well when they're doing it well. That's also a construct in our minds. We think we can reflect, and it just not. The behavioral psychologists are clear that that's not true. So finding the bright spots and elevating them, because then what happens? We feel pride in the work, and we replicate that across the system.
And that's not a blame game. We're siloed by construct, right? That's how he said, it's a big box with a bunch of little boxes. The goal is to drop, have the professional learning drop. Only then can you make collective efficacy a real deal, right? I visited a middle school and they had 10 class periods a day plus lunch. And it was a 6, 7, 8. And yeah, I'm seeing a lot of faces right now like, what the hell? And that's true for the kids. That's true.
Pretty normal, yeah.
Yeah, for the teachers. Imagine, I think they were like 32 or 37-minute classes. And I encouraged them, I wouldn't even say challenge. I said that as all of us together, there's nothing we can do to change that system, the bell schedule. But if the research is saying what we're talking about, is going to help students be successful. And I'm here to help talk about all of that with you, professional development. So we're pretty clear on the why. What is it that we can get collective about? Well, one, it again has to be grade level, subject area agnostic. For me, that's clarity, modeling, and routine is how I frame it. But if I don't see it happening in other classes and in other contexts, so when we talk about executive functioning skills, the research is also clear. If I get practice doing them in different contexts, it helps me make them my own. So you got to see, and that's a culture thing. A culture. I was at a school where it was just culture for people to walk in. whether shit was going well or it wasn't, and you didn't feel judged, or and I think we all got better because of that.
I got two things real quick. So to your
I
point,
talk so bad. Go. It's your turn.
it is my turn.
Go ahead.
So to your point,
It's
as
my
the
turn.
leader,
Like,
when I was new on the
It's my
campus,
turn.
there was a culture it consisted of just these are the things that we have done and will do, even if it wasn't effective. Okay, and so for myself, I felt like I was hitting a wall like every day, and I was tired of that. So I was trying to think through, like as a leader, okay, if I'm providing this and it's a top-down initiative, what typically is going to happen? It's going to be what TJ was talking about with, is this something that is going to be able to be implemented in my classroom easily? Is it attached to my why? Oh, I've already done this, I'm not going to do it. Or most PD, what do people ask? Do I have to do this? Is this something that's going to stick around, right? Because what they were used to is, unfortunately, at the campus I was at, was that there was a revolving door of administrators. You probably have seen this on your own campus, right? The average is 3 years that someone stays on a campus as a school leader. And so if that's the case, that means every 3 years we're just resetting and trying new things, right? And people were tired of that. So all that being said is we did kind of a flip as far as the initiative goes, as far as making sure that it was something that was from the bottom to the top. So how we did that is through what I call the relationship action team. And if you've read my book, you probably saw that in there, right? It was a grassroots movement. So myself as the administrator going, we need to make a change, but I'm not the expert. I could try to pretend I'm the expert, but I'm not going to do that because I want to learn just as much as everyone else. So just like when you have Kim in your classroom, what is she doing with y'all? She's on the ground, right? She's on the ground with you and your kids doing the work. And so as a leader, I needed to make sure that I was modeling that also. So when we created this relationship action team, it was 7 of us. It was teachers, it was a counselor, myself, the administrator, and a 504 coordinator. And that was what we started as. And we had some rules, and I think this is something that we can talk about as far as implementing in those rules, because I think this is something that we can implement campus-wide that becomes a culture of try. Because that's what the mindset was we don't know everything. That would be ridiculous if we did. So we need to make sure that everything as far as our experiences, our biases, our beliefs, we put that at the door, right? Because we want to go in with a clear mindset to learn. That's the main thing. So if someone would bring something to the meeting that was new, and we stole stuff from all over the place, St. Louis, California, whatever, right? Because we knew people, we had networks. And so someone would bring a strategy in. Whatever was brought into the session for this relationship action team, we all made the pact that we would then go implement it in our environment. So if I'm an administrator, I'm going to do it in my office, counselor, same thing, teacher in their classroom. Once we implement it and it works, then we will continue. We all agree that we would continue with that practice. Once we then saw that it was successful and we were continuing that practice, the next step that we all agreed upon was that we would share it with a peer. Because if I told someone, another administrator, the wonderful thing that I did, guess what that administrator is going to do? They're going to want to try it because we all want to be successful. But if I, as the administrator, tell a teacher that, is that going to be as powerful as a peer-to-peer communication? I know this. Let's be honest, right? If the person sitting next to you right now tells you strategies and you say, and this happens in your community all the time, right? On Voxer, you have a problem, and then what? You get like 15 responses about all things you could try? That's powerful, right? That's why you're in this community. But why is it that this right now doesn't exist on your campus?
Look at them. They're like,
I know.
oh.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of bitches.
I know. So let's change that. Yes. Let's change it. Let's go small, because this is what happened, y'all, is once we try these strategies and they worked and we started sharing it out, we didn't stop there. We didn't stop there because we don't want it to just be 7. What do we want? We want a culture of try. We want it to expand and grow. So then we start inviting people, right? I'm going to share the strategy with you. You should be a part of this relationship action team. Isn't it powerful to be invited to something? How many of you were invited to this by someone else?
Yeah.
Raise your hand. Yeah, be proud of it. Look at the power of that. That someone chose you and thought you were worthy to be in this room. Don't you want that on your campus too? Because all of you are worthy. All of you are amazing. And how many people are going to learn from the strategies that you are either pulling from this group or things that you're doing in your classroom? And to TJ's point, we have walls up and around you all day long and no one gets to see your greatness. So we got to share that out. And that's what this relationship action team allowed, was that people got to do things and share out all the fantastic stuff that was happening in their room that other people could adopt and do themselves. And by the end of the school year, and honestly, if I'm being very true here, this didn't start until January that we started this team. I had half the staff by the end of the school year. That's one semester. So when we went into year 2, guess what? Everyone wanted to be a part of this group, as I'm touching my mic. Because they found this to be something that was special and that was working, and why wouldn't I want to be a part of that? But now it becomes a culture of try. We're all in line with that. And on the second piece that I want to talk, and then I'll hand it over to Kim because she's dying to talk, is that I wanted to be also the leader of yes. How many of you go into an office with a great, fantastic idea, you're passionate about it, and you can see what could happen, and before you get 2 sentences out, you hear that horrible, horrible word, no. How disheartening is that? I remember as a teacher hearing no, 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 no all the time. And guess what? I stopped asking. Because screw you. I'm going to do what I want to do. And that was who I was, because I knew what was best for my kids. I had better creativity, more imagination, and I knew what needed to happen on that campus. And I was just a teacher. And I knew that I would get the result, they would see it on the back end, and then guess what? I would apologize, and they would say it was fine. Rinse and repeat. So having leaders like that, I didn't want to be that way. I want to be the leader of yes. So if you have a position right now where you have influence, please be that. Even if you don't understand what the process will look like, or even the end result, I can promise you by saying yes, it was far greater than anything that I could imagine. It was far greater than any outcome I thought was going to assume would be at the end of that road, and it turned out to be beautiful. Kim said yes. Look how beautiful these 2 days have been. So be the yes teacher, be the yes counselor, be the yes leader. Don't be the gatekeeper. Be the person of opportunity.
Is it my turn now?
It's your turn now.
It is, but I have one thing to say.
I cannot. Do you really?
Just real quick.
Every time.
Josh,
Every time.
the best part of Josh's relationship action team is they were known as the Rats.
Yeah.
Which I love.
I was trying not to
Rats.
say
I
that,
know.
but yes,
Thought of
we
it
were
too.
the rats.
Sorry, Kim.
You done now?
I'm done.
TJ, anything? You're twitching over
I'm
here.
twitching. The show's almost
He's
over.
got to take his shoes
Show's
off.
almost over. I was just thinking about your school. I was thinking about your school. Like, that came in my brain when we were having this conversation, and I know your teachers, and I know the work that you've done. And there's another school that has a couple teachers that I've been working with one-on-one, and they've really, really struggled with that because they are allowed to go in and see their colleagues, right? Oh, you went, yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, however, it has been a shit show, an absolute shit show. And this principal really feels like I'm making a huge difference here. I'm allowing my teachers to come in and see. And the teachers that I work with, they're like, Kim, it is such a waste of time. I'm leaving my kids. It's like valuable teaching time. And now I'm going into, yeah, you're nodding. I know. And I'm going into these classrooms. I'm like, I don't even know. What am I doing here? Right? So my advice is start with one thing. What is the one system? What is the one routine? What is the one phrase? It could be that we all, I'm just thinking like, again, my brain is going to MTSS. I'm foundational level. And I'm thinking it is really important for us to all take a mindful minute. Now, that's coming from, Colleen, a teacher in your school who always does mindful minutes throughout the school day. I know that this teacher is going to do mindful minutes 5 times during the school day, 5 times. And no matter what, if there was a teacher coming in, I guarantee in some sort of time frame, they would see a mindful minute. And if that's our one thing that we're doing so that we can support kids and get them to understand how they're feeling, what strategies they have to support themselves throughout the day, right? And in those minutes, they can use those strategies, practice those things. That's what I want my entire staff to see all year long. Now, all of a sudden, we're starting that culture of try, and everybody seriously, like, then they start to go, oh, I did see that mindful minute. It kind of worked. It's pretty calm in that classroom. There's this one kid that's usually eloping, and guess what? They were actually sitting there with some sort of, I don't know, fidgety thing, and they sat there and then they got to work right away. It was magical. Those are now the conversations that you're having instead of like that kid again. What are we going to do about that kid? No, I saw that kid and it was magic in there. But I think it is starting with the one thing, and it is being very specific about the one thing is, and we're all focusing on that one thing. And then like TJ was saying, we're praising the crap out of each other. Yes. Hey, I noticed that in the first grade classroom, and then it looked different in the sixth grade classroom, right? It was incredible. It was the same but different. And then guess what? If those are the conversations that you're having in a staff meeting, then it starts to feel like this. It starts to feel like we're all in this. Cool, great. And then what do? You move on to the next thing, and you stay here. You stay here at foundational level until everybody's got it. But that comes from you. And I know you did a lot of work for them. As a principal, she copied every single one of my anchor charts, every single one. She had them in a folder, in like a file. They were labeled. She had like what to do, how to do it, what to say. She had these things they could like literally put it on the wall in the staff lounge and copy the anchor charts. The principal did all of that. And how, yes. Yep. You did. What?
Because it's good.
Because it should be happening. It's here. These are the conversations we're having with kids. This is what it looks like. This is where we're at right now. But if I'm thinking back how you could do it again, it's the one. We're all starting here. How do we want to feel at school? And what are we going to do in order to feel that way? It's the one, right? This is what we're all talking about this whole month. Our staff meeting is about that. We're all going to go into classrooms and we're going to see that. We're going to talk about how kids in kindergarten want to feel seen, valued, heard, right? And guess what? Same in sixth grade and every single grade in between. And we're going to talk about that. Yeah, Colleen.
Well, I just want to tell you that after how many years, there was some growth.
Yeah.
And at the staff meeting, well, at the end of last year, we made a list of all the things that we learned.
Yep.
What are we going to focus on? What are our color-coded them? What are the green things? What are the yellow things? What are,
Yep.
Okay, stop. And then at the staff meeting that we're having this week, starting Monday,
Yep.
and then again on Wednesday, is the top 5 posters they're all going to do.
Cool.
The anchor charts for the year.
Okay, so let's just talk about that.
I didn't make any yet, but I was gonna.
Okay, let's talk. Well, let's talk about it. No, give me my time. I'm going to stand up. No, I'm going to stand up. No, you will not. You stay right there grounded on your mat.
I don't have a mat.
Okay.
I was going to bring my
Nope.
mat.
Zip.
Kim's on a roll.
Top five. And I mean, we can talk more in our coaching sessions also about like conversations to have, but my number one is how do you want to feel at school and what do we need to do in order to feel that way, right? That's crucial. After that though, it's now what the hell do I do with that, right? I just opened up a can of worms and now this is like, kids are talking about feelings and I don't know what to do. So we're going to goal set, right? And so it's we first. It's we will blank so we can blank. We're all in this together here. What are we gonna do? We're going to keep our thoughts in our thought bubble so we can what? What do you want? You want them to keep their thoughts in their thought bubble so that we can listen to the teacher? We can listen to each other? We can earn something? Like fill in the blank, whatever you want, okay? But then after that, it's I will blank, so we still, and that's the co-regulation piece. right? Now they're realizing, oh my gosh, I am affecting the thoughts and feelings of the people around me. Whoa, that's weird. So it's I will. What are you going to do? Maybe it's not a thought bubble thing. Maybe it's I'm going to keep my hands to myself. Maybe it's I'm going to find a smart spot so that we can, whatever it is, feel productive, so we can get right to work, so we can earn something. And then it's I will blank so I can blank. And that's like, how do I motivate kids, Kim? I hear that all the time. How do I motivate kids? Well, this phrase right here, what are you gonna do so that you can feel productive? So you can go home and say, awesome, I got 5 stars today. Whatever your thing is, right? It's an I thing. So you start with how do you want to feel at school, right? We go into some sort of goal setting and then you go, what the hell is going on with my classroom? And where do I need to go? And so usually, is it a circle of control type of a thing, right? The things that you can control, the things that you can't control. Is that something that your kids are struggling with? Is it size of the problem? Like they're coming up to me and I have to deal with all of these tattling kids all day long, right? Okay, well, what's the size of your problem? If it's a small problem, it's a glitch. You need to solve it on your own. If it's a medium-sized problem, you need to ask a peer. If it's a big problem, like blood, barf, and all the things, like bones are breaking, come to me. Come to me. Okay, I also like a what if anchor chart. So what if something happens? Solution. What if blah, blah, blah? Solution. Add it to this chart. I don't know. What do you do? What are you supposed to do? Uh-oh. Oh my gosh. What if? Anchor chart. Solve problems on their own. Does that make sense? I mean, we can talk about all the things. Social emotional chain reaction is also a great one, right? Any other go-tos? I feel like, how are you feeling? Right? But then also it's like a big toolbox in the middle of all of the tools and strategies that they can support themselves. That's a great one. But you got to use it, you guys. Every single time I feel like everyone comes to me like, Kim, I love your anchor charts. You guys, again, I almost call it stupid. It's an incredible anchor chart. Got 1.7 million sets of eyeballs on it, and a woman in Indonesia using it in her classroom, right? Think about that. Like, these are the conversations, but you don't just do it once and then go, it was a great activity, this SEL activity. No, it needs to become your language. It needs to become your language that you use. And then if that is the one thing, right, it's this one anchor chart and it becomes your language and you're front loading with it and you're reflecting afterwards with it. That's the gold. That changes everything, right? I walked into a classroom and I heard a teacher say, oh my gosh, what if? What should you do? And they walked over to the anchor chart and pointed to it, and a kid got right to work and solved their problem. It was amazing. Magic. That could be the one thing. Yes?
I think that's mic drop.
Thank you.
Josh should close us out.
I'm going to close it out.
Okay, close us off.
Well, for those who are watching and they're not here at the event, do you want to say anything to those folks?
The ones that are not here?
Yeah.
What would you say to the ones that are not here? Buy your ticket. Be here next year.
Be here next year. You're missing out.
I think there's a place for you, right? There's a place for you. Yeah, Shay, did you want to say something?
The growth is going to be small, and that's okay.
Ah.
The growth can be really small and hard to see at times, and it doesn't mean it's not powerful.
I love that.
Progress over perfection.
Yeah, I love that. All right.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah, Sharon.
I think the thing I love most about you is that whether you have been told you're a leader or not, if you believe you're a leader and you want change at your school, you are a leader and you belong here.
I love that. I love that.
Well said.
All right,
All
y'all.
right.
All right. Well, thank you all. Can we give a round of applause for each of you for being here?
Yes.
We appreciate you. It means a lot that you're here in this space, and so we just wanted to thank you so much for your time and being, I guess, a fly on the wall for the VIBE EDU podcast. And you got to see some of the insanity before we push record. But this is our banter. We love being here. We appreciate you, Kim, and we can't wait to see you next year.